The Sun's political editor, who also knows I'm steaming angry. Jack Elsom, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jeremy.
Oh, this is Jeremy Kyle. I didn't know he does political, or I didn't know he does news. I always thought he did those shows, the ones where you are not the father. How can I say? It's those afternoon shit TV. Wow, interesting. Anyway, so apparently Bob Vylan's visa has been revoked by Donald Trump. If you watched my previous video, I've given a commentary about it, but I will give it again because I think it's one of those cases where he's still getting what it is that he wanted. His message has actually been received.
The Sun's political editor, who also knows I'm steaming angry. Jack Elsom, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jeremy.
Honestly, you've been busy. I cannot, in my head, understand what is happening to this country. The Bob Vylan thing, have you heard the breaking news in the last 10 minutes? Donald Trump's only been up an hour, and punk band Bob Vylan have had their US visas revoked. So no tour for them. Great, because of their hateful tirade at Glastonbury. This just announced by the US Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau. Our own bleeding government, Jack Elsom, nada, nothing, because it's not far right. It's outrageous.
Well, like you said, Donald Trump's probably only just got up in the past few minutes, and he's already banned this hateful duo from coming to the United States, whereas our national broadcaster decides to promote them on the airways. Absolutely disgusting stuff. I think to the Prime Minister's credit,
This is one of the few reasons why I find Donald Trump a very interesting character, because how he managed to become president of America is he used tactics even the conservatives do not understand. It's only a few people who actually understand. I can say I'm actually one of the few people who understand it. And I can say a good example is Bobby Vylan has actually used that same tactic. And now he's actually baiting people. And people have caught that bait. And on top of it, he's actually managed to catch conservative people and all right-wing people, which is actually very, very, very interesting. Wow. It's almost... You know what? Just let me continue watching.
But he has actually said that it was not acceptable whatsoever and has seemed to force a concession out of the BBC, a grovelling apology. But I think people now, despite the fact they seem to have rode back from this and coming with their tails between their legs, are just thinking, how on earth did it happen in the first place? You know, Bob Vylan, I've never heard of this pretty ridiculous punk duo before. It's not my kind of music anyway. And even if it...
But again, no, should just let it go. Should just let it, just pass by. But again, here we are covering it. Oh, wow. I'm smiling. I'm laughing because I see, number one, I see the absolute hypocrisy in terms of, no, actually, I don't know if it's hypocrisy. It's more like, I see the whole part where you're falling for the same bait that the left-wing media falls for. But again, it's all media at the end of the day. It's all media. And it's like a hive mind, you know? They all get carried away by the same current. And the other thing is, which is actually a very interesting thing. Both the right-wing media and the left-wing media are in support of being against this guy, which is actually quite interesting. Shows a lot. For me, in general, I look at it in terms of once I see both sides moving towards a certain direction, then I try to stay a little bit impartial about it. And if they're moving apart, I come in the center, because I know that's pretty much where the truth kind of lies. All of these guys, they're all lying, and at the end of the day, it just depends on who. Unfortunately, just for most of them, it's mostly who pays the bills at the end of the day. So right now, if I was able to pay them, they would echo my opinions. That's the sad part. Anyway,
I don't think I'd be as foolish as the people were at Glastonbury to be chanting these horrible anti-Semitic chants. But even so, I just think that people will think, how on earth would it be promoted in the BBC?
And I think the other...
But the BBC got caught. They got caught off guard. They didn't know about the Bobby Vylan guy. Well, the whole part whereby the whole place was waving Palestinian flags, that one was, they knew. And at the end of the day, you really can't hide from the fact that whatever is happening in Palestine is happening in Palestine.
The two words I thought of was Lucy Connolly. I don't condone what Lucy Connolly, I know the Sun's behind her, and so am I, but I don't condone in any way what she said about the Muslim community. I understand her frustration, but surely there's about,
Splitting hairs. I would say, number one, the whole part is nobody's talking about, and this is something I find interesting. I've just clocked this, that everyone is more focused on the IDF part. Nobody's focused. Even these guys. I've checked the transcripts. At let's see if they're going to mention Palestine. Nowhere. Let me expand this and see. So let's check if they're actually going to mention Palestine. I've searched Palestine, as you can see, nowhere. So it's selective outrage, I would say. From how I'm looking at it, I understand that there's a part where the whole calling for death to the IDF and stuff is quite extreme. But again, he talked about the Palestine part, which is worth a look into. But that's not interesting here. Okay, so this Talk TV seems to be in the conservative side. I think also BBC is the conservative side as well. So let's see. So CNN is, first of all, Bobby Vylan's Israeli military chants prompts US visa cancellation and a UK criminal probe. Okay, for the criminal probe, okay, let me just read this. So members of the British punk duo Bob Vylan had their visas revoked by the United States and are currently under investigations by the local police after leading a crowd to a chant, "Death to the Israelis military," at the UK music festival Glastonbury this past weekend. On Monday, the US Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau said that the State Department has revoked the US visas for the members of Bob Vylan's band in light of their hateful tirade at the Glastonbury Festival, including leading the crowd to a death chant. He added on X that foreigners who glorify violence and hatred are not welcome visitors in our country. So the group was slated to go on a US tour beginning in late October, according to a post on Instagram. The US State Department has instituted an aggressive visa restriction and revocation policy for alleged support of terrorism and anti-Semitism. So the rapper Bobby Vylan took to Glastonbury Festival's third biggest West Hall stage on Saturday, shouting, "Free, free Palestine." At least this side they've actually mentioned Palestine, before leading the crowd to chants against the Israeli military. Videos show the rapper shouting to the mic. All right, I think I will play it for you.
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Alright, but have you heard this one though? Death, death to the IDF! 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 Hell yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be, will be, inshallah, it will be free.
The article continues saying that the artist also performed in front of a screen that displayed a message which read, "United Nations have called it a genocide. The BBC calls it a conflict," referring to the UK's Public Broadcasting Corporation that was airing the festival live. On Saturday on Instagram, a post captioned, "I said what I said." So Bobby Vylan said that he had received messages of both support and hatred following the performance. And he doubled down saying, "Teaching our children to speak for the change they want and need is the only way that you can make this world a better place," the post read. "As we grow older and our fire possibly starts to dim under the suffocation of adult life and all its responsibilities, it's incredibly important that we inspire the future generation to pick up the torch that was passed on to us." So the CNN had contacted Bobby Vylan for a comment. Bobby Vylan chants at the festival also prompted outcry among top British officials, and British police are reviewing the video footage of their set. The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said, "There's no excuse of this kind of appalling hate speech." The Israeli embassy in the UK said it was deeply disturbed by what it called inflammatory and hateful speech and rhetoric at the festival. A BBC spokesman told CNN on Sunday that some of the comments made during Vylan's performance were deeply offensive. So the BBC streamed the rapper's set live, but it said it had no plans to make the performance available on demand through its iPlayer streaming platform. So on Monday, the BBC admitted that with hindsight, Vylan's performance would have been pulled off air during the performance. Oh wow, they actually let that thing play live. He really caught them off guard, saying that the corporation respects freedom of expression, but stands firmly against incitement to violence. That's a very thin line, because at the end of the day, I actually see that there's also a police investigation as well. But again, how are they gonna prosecute this? Because it kind of looks like you're going to infringe on freedom of expression. Even on the other side of the aisle, people do say some stuff which is quite unhinged, And the whole thing is, it's a steep slope. It's a precarious situation because that people are not seeing, that if this goes through and the guy is prosecuted, then guess what? When the government, and they will definitely get there, if it's in the UK, I'm not in the UK, if it's in the UK, chances are that same law or that same precedent that was used against, let's say, this group will be used against the public who are maybe trying to cry about injustices or the economy is not doing well, or people being critical towards the government, and probably their choice of words is not that savory. So they will fall in that trap as well. So I don't know how this is going to work. Anyway, so let me finish this article. So let's continue. So on Monday, the BBC admitted that with hindsight, Vylan's performance would have been pulled from the air during the performance, saying that the corporation respects freedom of expression but stands firmly against incitement to the violence. We've already read that, and this is key here. This is very key. And at the end of the day, it was very, very difficult for the BBC to actually know that Bobby Vylan was actually going to go on that tangent. So the anti-Semitic sentiments expressed by Bobby Vylan were utterly unacceptable and have no place in our airwaves, it added. Bobby Vylan's music incorporates a variety of genres and lyrics that often confront social issues such as racism, sexism, and economic inequality. Of course, he was going to end up touching Palestine. Jesus Christ. If this is basically his themes, yeah, he was definitely going to touch up on Palestine for sure. Then there's also the other group who the BBC already knew that they would be a bit unhinged, and that's the Kneecap. So it's a group from Ireland, and they even have one of their members actually arrested. So let's continue. Ahead of the 5-day music festival, all eyes on the Irish group hip hop or trio Kneecap, after the band member Liam Ohana, who performs under the stage name Mo Chara, was charged last month with a terrorism offence following an investigation by London's Metropolitan Police. It kind of looks like Bobby Vylan is borrowing a leaf from Kneecap, because at the end of the day, it looks like a lot of people were the Glastonbury stage or came to the Glastonbury also to see these guys, and because of their stance or because of the publicity that they've actually managed to garner out of one of their members being arrested or being charged. So the charge, which he denied, relates to a London gig in November 2024 where he allegedly displayed a flag of Hezbollah, a proscribed terrorist organization banned under the UK law. Ahead of the festival at Worthy Farm, Starmer said it was not appropriate for the group to perform. Jesus Christ, even the Prime Minister knows about the group. The little hip hop I know, that's called street cred. So while performing on the same stage on Saturday afternoon, one of the group members who, I think Chara, it's called Mo Chara, told the crowd that recent events have been stressful, but it was nothing in comparison to what the Palestinian people are going through. So Kneecap rapper, oh my goodness, that name, man. We just say NOC. I'll just abbreviate this to NOC. So who goes by the name Moglai Bab, hit back at Starmer's comment during the Saturday set. The Prime Minister of your country, not mine, said he doesn't want us to play. So F Keir Starmer. Oh my God. The UK has actually started something which I don't think they will have a control over. If this is how they want to go, or in general, like giving publicity to these acts or these being critical of certain organizations, certain countries and stuff, that's a daily thing. But at the end of the day, when you give them attention to the point whereby, dude, if I was in a rap group and all I did was just basically some outlandish things, and the president or the prime minister of my country knows who I am, of course I'm gonna do more of it. It's like, I mean, dude, rappers do less, and that's pretty much for just street cred within a small little radius. And they do more harm and talk a lot more shit, and sometimes even do gangbangs, I think, in America. So in America, rappers do less for less street cred. Now the UK is opening up like another portal where they're like, oh, so this is how we actually do it. I don't know. This is gonna backfire on the media and also in the UK. They're not gonna be able to contain this because now I think it started with Kneecap. I think, well, using music or art to highlight political injustices, it's not something new. But I'm talking about this whole Glastonbury thing or this whole fervor. It started with these guys, this Irish group, and it kind of looks like Bobby Vylan borrowed a leaf. And if you ask me, more artists who are struggling to get play in the UK are gonna borrow a leaf as well from this and realize, hey, you know, go big or go home kind of situation. But at the end of the day, Jesus Christ, like, why would the Prime Minister even comment on this, man? Like, then also there's the whole part where the police in Somerset, where the festival was held, said on Monday that after reviewing the video and audio footage of both bands and performances, they determined that further inquiries are required and opened a criminal investigation into the matter. The investigation is in an early stage, police said, adding that authorities will closely consider all appropriate legislation, including relating to hate crimes. Slippery slope. If this is used on this artist, it will eventually be a precedent. And once it's a precedent, it will be used against the public. That's pretty much how I understand how law works. I found this interesting. If I was a politician and if I had any kind of say in this, I would not even have paid attention to it. But again, I'm me. I don't have any kind of donations and stuff. So at least I can actually say I have a little bit of an independent thought. And that would actually be a very good reason to subscribe. Thank you very much.